When I was younger, when I got drafted, I was the sixth pick of the draft. I was big, strong, fast, could throw a football wherever, all that stuff you saw with Cam Newton this year. But I didn't understand the investment it took to be great. I thought it was about talent. I said, hey, I'm talented. I'm big, strong, fast. I can throw a football. I can do all this stuff. I'm going to be a success. And I didn't have truth tellers in my life that explained to me that there's a tremendous investment that it takes to be great. And it goes so far beyond who you are and your talent level, but how much you actually put into it. Well, fast forward to when I go to Seattle, because what happened in Baltimore was I was a Super Bowl winning quarterback that was perceived to be a limited player, which left me as the only Super Bowl winning quarterback ever, by the way, to be looking for a new team after he won the Super Bowl. So I go into free agency thinking I'm going to re-sign, get the big contract, this is going to be great, and Baltimore chooses to sign somebody else to carry their team into the future. So I'm looking for another team, and I end up landing in Seattle. And I go to the Seattle Seahawks. Mike Holmgren's the head coach. And I go there, and it's been a whole offseason. My body's repaired a little bit, but I'm still not feeling right. I go into training camp. Things are going better. I'm throwing a little bit better. Still not completely, still a shell of what I once was. And the quarterback gets hurt, and I got to go play. And I gut it out, and I play all right. But every single week, when I'd go in Monday and I'd sit at my locker, it was this again. And I couldn't get up. I meet with an orthopedic surgeon, and he says, what we're going to have to do to you is really gruesome to get this fixed. We're going to have to inject these joints with cortisone. And I tell this story, and there's a little bit of a gruesome factor here, but you'll get the point later. Basically what I had to do is I had to go through a series of injections where I got in stirrups, or whatever you call it, like when you're delivering a baby. And I had 18-inch needles injected into the joints in my pelvis, and to get the calcification to go away. And I had to do this, I want to say 3 or 4 times midweek, but here's the worst part. I had to do it before the game. So in order to play, I would put on my uniform, and I would go out to the field, go through my warm-up, come back, because they needed my metabolic rate at a certain level, and I'd come back in, and they'd throw me on a table, and it would take the training staff, they'd rip my football pants down, because if we have pads in them, it's like gear, it's not just a pair of slacks, and they'd rip them down, and they would clean everything up, and they'd take these needles, right? This is right before kickoff, and they would inject me with lidocaine at that point, so that I could go play a football game. What happened, and the reason I tell that story is because I didn't understand early on the investment, and because I didn't commit early on to taking care of my body and to taking care of my money maker. I mean, that's how we make our money as professional athletes. I was now making a tremendous investment in managing my body. And it brought me to a point where I was so invested in management and maintaining a level that wasn't close to what I once was, that my career, I never was able to reach my potential. Because I didn't capitalize on the first 7, 8 years of my career when I was healthy, when I was strong, when I was able to perform at a high level. I didn't capitalize on those moments. So by the time I figured it out later on in my career, I was so banged up and such damaged goods, it got to the point where now the focus was just about maintaining a level that wasn't close to what it could have been. And unfortunately, this is a common cycle in the NFL. And one of the things I want to do today is I want to kind of pull back the veil of the NFL to a certain degree. Because what you see us talk about on SportsCenter and the NFL shows is the real glamorous part, right? The fun part. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that's somewhat tragic. And I think one of the most tragic things, and it happened to me, and I see it happen to other players, is they have a large amount of talent. I call them high ceiling players. They have a very high ceiling that they could reach, and they never get there. And they never get there because they don't have people in their life, people that can train them, people that can coach them, people that can squeeze them, people that can mentor them, and explain to them what it takes, what the investment is to be great. I'm a little bit of a coffee addict, so. And you see it so often, and it breaks my heart because I've lived it, where people with tremendous talent never reach their potential because they don't properly understand or embrace the investment it takes to be great. Now, the flip side. The flip side is that every once in a while, you find a player that is incredibly gifted, that has all the talent in the world, and also has the soul to be special. When you find that player, he's a game changer. Not just on Sundays, he's a game changer organizationally. He single-handedly changes who you are as a franchise. And you people are very fortunate because one of them plays for the Carolina Panthers. I got a phone call February 7th last year from ESPN. And they told me about some media workout that this kid Cam Newton was going to have. And I had just followed the great season at Auburn and understood, the type of player he is. And there was a lot of speculation at the time, much like there is with Tim Tebow now, about whether Cam Newton's game translated to the next level. And if you go back to that time, right after the Super Bowl last year, it was a polarizing issue. There were many people that said he couldn't play quarterback in the NFL, that his skill set didn't match that. So he was going to have a media workout. And I was told about it, and I said, can I go? I begged to go. And at this media workout was beat writers, national media, but no football people. There was nobody at this workout that was a football guy. And I wanted to be that guy. So I go down on February 10th, and I watch this workout. And I remember getting on TV and saying, what I just saw, I have never seen before in my entire life. And I've been around this game a long time. And I've studied the quarterback position very intently. And I just saw the biggest, baddest dude throw a football like I've only seen a couple people in my life throw it. And not only could he throw, not only could he run, not only did he have a physicality that was so intimidating. I mean, he's still a Labrador puppy, right? He's still this puppy with big old paws that doesn't know what to do with himself. I mean, he's 21 years old, and he makes me look tiny, by the way. And I saw this, and I said, this dude is going to change football. I said, he's just not going to be a great quarterback. He's going to change this game. He's that type of player. But more importantly, he's that type of person. And as I spent that day with him, and I got some behind-the-scenes stuff, got to know him a little bit, and started challenging the mental side and started challenging him. Does he really get it? Is he just an entitled kid that was always the best athlete, that was successful at Auburn because of his skills, or is this a kid that really, really gets it? And I knew that day that he got it, that he absolutely got it. So his group, his team at that time asked me to kind of consult on his training. So I was getting sent video of his workouts on a daily basis. They were being sent to my house, and I have a system where I can watch all this stuff, and I was tracking his development. And I used this as an opportunity to really test how much you could draw out of this, because I became fascinated, mainly because of my personal experiences not reaching my potential. I became fascinated with how much could you push the envelope with this guy? Like, what was his work tolerance? How much could he actually take on? Because you could cookie cutter it, you could baby step it and say, well, he's so gifted, he's going to, just natural progression, he's going to be all right. I said, no, there's got to be a way that in a short period of time, we can see how much we can squeeze out of this tank. So I began sending very, very challenging teaching progressions to George Whitfield, the guy that was training him, saying, tomorrow challenge him with this, see how he responds. The next day challenge him with this, see how he responds. And keep pushing the envelope. See what you can draw out of this. And Cam responded to every single challenge. There was not one challenge that was presented to him that he did not flourish in. I mean, it was amazing to see the transformation. Yeah, he was big, he was bad, he was awesome physically, but he was very raw as a passer. And at the end of the process, right after the combine, he had a tough combine, but right before his pro workout, the change I saw in this player was remarkable. And it taught me right then and there the ability to change. If you truly, truly understand the investment and the commitment it takes to be great, then you can change. You can go from where you are to where you want to be in a shorter period of time than the next guy. And that's what I saw with Cam. It's funny because Tuesday, so you saw Cam's season. I mean, we can talk more about it as I start to answer questions about Cam specifically and what I see in his game. But you saw how the season unfolded. I mean, was there a player in this league that burdened more responsibility for his team each week than Cam Newton? I would argue no. I mean, what you're seeing with Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and Tom Brady, I mean, it's great stuff. But talk about a guy, this place was awful. I mean, they were terrible. It was unwatchable. I was telling the group last night, you know, I have in my home office, I have all the technology, I watch all the coaches' tape, I can watch every play of every single game from what we call the coaches' tape, which you see everything. I couldn't watch the Panthers. It made me sick. That's how bad they were. And here comes this dude, he comes in and he just changes the team. Not just his play, but his personality, right? The energy he brings to the situation is incredible. There are thermostat leaders and there are thermometer leaders. You guys get the difference? A thermostat leader actually changes the climate. He changes the environment he's in. There's leaders that respond to the climate they're in. Cam Newton's a dude that walks into a room and the room gets hotter. It gets better. And that's what he did. So I'm talking to him Tuesday. I call him up Tuesday and I'm like, hey dude, going out to your neck of the woods, you want to hang out Friday? Yeah, I'm going to Baltimore to see my brother. I'm like, way to diss me, thanks. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, sorry I didn't call you back right away. I just got out of the weight room. I'm like, I know I travel a lot, but isn't it like January 8th or something? Why aren't you on vacation? Why aren't you on a cruise? Why aren't you chilling out? Why aren't you relaxing? He goes, what are you talking about? I don't take a day off. I said, you just played 16 games. You just got your brains beat in. Because make no mistake about it, you heard from my stories earlier, it takes a toll on your body. And you didn't take a day off? He said, no, in fact, I've been locking myself in a room with the lights off, with the film going, studying myself because I got to play better. He says, I have so many things I did wrong. Oh my gosh, you didn't tell me how hard this job was. I mean, there are so many things I got to get better at. And I'm saying, I'm sitting there going, these guys work hard, but this is ridiculous. So he's watched every snap of this season already on his own to do a self-eval. He's not missed a day in the weight room. He's already running. He's already training as if it's at the heart of the off season. Think he understands the investment it takes to be great? So the lesson that I've learned from Cam Newton, the lesson I've learned from my own personal experience, and now that I look at the league more globally, and I look at, the father of a teenager who's a high-performing athlete and all these other things, I'm really simplifying it to this. As we go through life and we're searching out greatness, we're trying to identify greatness, right? Too often we minimize it to talent. Too often in every walk of life we minimize it. We say, wow, he or she is talented, they're going to be great. And the streets are littered with people that are very talented. The difference is to identify talent, but to somehow identify the soul of the person. And to identify, does that person have something in them that allows them to be pushed, allows them to be challenged, allows them to get everything out of their talent. And I think that's what's so special about Cam Newton. That's why you, as a fan base, should be so excited. You don't just have the most talented guy playing quarterback in the league. You have a guy with a soul and a work tolerance and a work ethic that is unparalleled. And because of that, I think Carolina Panthers and Super Bowl will be in the same conversation here in the next 4 or 5 years. I have a lot of regrets with my career. I try to be very transparent with that. I never get on TV and say, well, I did it, so therefore, listen to what I have to say. Instead, I say, hey, I failed doing this many times. And I see him on the road to failure because he's making the same mistakes I made. Or I see him on the road to greatness because he's not making those same mistakes. The biggest regret I have is that I didn't embrace early on the investment it took to be great. That I let a lot of talent, a lot of good years go by the wayside because I didn't get it. In your walk of life, you're all going to have influence over young people with a lot of talent. Don't let them make the same mistake I made. Thank you.